Hi, welcome back to the channel. Over the past 48 hours, the war in Iran has taken a dangerous turn. We are now seeing direct strikes on some of the most important energy infrastructure in the world, alongside threats of further escalation that could take out entire natural gas fields. This is now sending shockwaves through oil markets, gas supplies, inflation, and global financial markets. And in a sign of just how serious this has become, Donald Trump has waived a centuries-old shipping law, is considering sending thousands more troops into the region, and has issued an extraordinary warning about future attacks. This situation is escalating rapidly. Now let's start with what triggered this latest phase. Israel has carried out a direct strike on Iran's South Pars gas field. Now this is not just any facility. South Pars is the largest natural gas field in the world, responsible for a huge proportion of Iran's gas production, and is a critical part of the global energy supply system. This type of target has never really been hit before, and it represents a major shift, moving away from military targets to core economic infrastructure. Early reports suggest that parts of the facility have been damaged and forced offline, raising concerns about both immediate disruption and longer-term supply impacts. And the response from the United States has been extraordinary. Donald Trump, on his Truth social media, posted a statement saying, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as the South Pars gas field in Iran. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran ultimately decides to attack a very innocent, in this case Qatar, in which case the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entire of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never witnessed before. Now this is an unprecedented statement. The US is effectively warning that an entire gas field could be destroyed if this situation escalates further. And unfortunately, Iran has already retaliated. It's launched direct strikes on energy and strategic targets outside of its borders, which include an attack on Qatar's Laffan LNG facility, the largest LNG export site in the world, strikes reported near Saudi Arabia's capital, and attacks impacting a Saudi port facility. We're also seeing reports that the United Arab Emirates has shut down parts of its gas infrastructure as a precaution. So this is no longer a contained incident. This is spreading across the entire Gulf region. And even where infrastructure hasn't been hit, countries are now taking defensive action. Kuwait has reportedly increased security and is preparing a potential shutdown of its key oil facilities. Now that's not just about physical damage, this is about the threat of further attacks disrupting supplies across multiple countries. At the same time, the situation in the Strait of Hormuz is continuing to deteriorate. Around 20% of the global oil supply normally passes through this narrow shipping lane on a daily basis. However, right now we are seeing GPS systems being jammed. As a result of that, ships are struggling to navigate through the area, tankers are being delayed or rerouted, and some vessels are basically stranded. So we now have disrupted production, damaged infrastructure, and restricted transport. That is a triple shock to the global energy supply network. And the market reaction has been immediate and severe. Oil prices have surged more than 7% in a single day and traded at one point above $115 per barrel. That's the highest level we've seen since the early stages of the Ukraine war. But gas is where the real shock is happening. European gas prices jumped 35% in one day. And since the start of this year, prices have risen from around 28 euros per megawatt hour to around 70. That's an increase of around 3 times in just a few months. And the reason why this is so important is because Europe relies heavily on natural gas for electricity generation. So this doesn't just affect industry. This affects every household, every business, and the price of almost everything. And policymakers are now starting to react. European leaders are now discussing emergency measures to try to control gas prices and secure supplies, because this is now a full-scale energy crisis. and that puts central banks in a very difficult position. 2026 was expected to be a year where interest rates were cut all around the world to support economic growth. However, that now looks increasingly unlikely. We've already seen an interest rate hike in Australia, and the longer this situation continues, the higher the likelihood that we will start seeing interest rates rising again globally, and that could have devastating consequences for economic growth in 2026. And the financial markets are now starting to react. Stock markets have begun to fall as investors price in higher inflation, higher interest rates, higher fuel costs, slower growth, and rising geopolitical risk. And if this situation escalates further, we are looking at higher inflation, slower growth, further market weakness, and potentially a much more significant global economic slowdown than initially expected. So I'll keep you posted on any further significant news and developments as and when they occur, but hopefully you found today's video useful, informative, and most importantly, thought-provoking. You're starting to see what the impact of a war thousands of miles away from where you live might have on your daily, everyday existence. So if you've liked what I've said, or maybe you didn't quite like it, but you thought it was interesting, then please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Don't forget, I'm currently running a competition where you can win my property or a cash alternative prize. Scan the QR code on the screen now or click the link in the description below. We've got some really interesting deals on the go right now, so if you'd like to get involved, it's another way of funding the channel. Thank you so much to everyone that's supported me in other ways. If you've bought me a coffee or sent me a YouTube super thanks or signed up as a patron or a member, thank you so much for that support. Really does help to keep me going and thinking up more ideas for videos, and I genuinely appreciate it. And here's something to put a smile on your face.